All right, Get Better Everyday listener. I just got done with Joey Ortiz. We're going to hear about a painful childhood that involves, child abuse, double murder. We're going to hear about a hit and run at 50 miles an hour, being, revived back to life 3 times. Stay tuned because there's a lot of nuggets in this interview with Joey Ortiz, and I enjoyed the story thoroughly. I think you're going to too, so stay tuned. All right, Matt Gouget, Get Better Every Day. I'm excited, to be honest, Joey. I got Joey Ortiz with me today. We're going to talk about the book, Unstoppable. We're going to talk about your journey. And I think for the Get Better Everyday listener, what I like to talk about are stories like yours, right? Overcoming massive adversity, because for most of us, we've overcome something in life. And for somebody who's maybe in that spot or recently, come out of adversity, they think that success or winning or getting better every day is unachievable because of, roadblocks in their life. But I think that we'll share your story today, and I'm looking forward to hearing it from you to illustrate that that's the kind of stuff that made you stronger. That's what made Joey Ortiz who he is today. So give us a little bit of glimpse. Go back as far as you want to go. I'd love for you to retell the story that I got on my sidewalk 5 or 6 years ago, the car accident, but you can start wherever you want and just tell us a little bit about the Joey Ortiz story.
Well, thanks, Matt, for having me. It all started for me. I like to start back when I was 5 years old. My diminutive ex-jockey Puerto Rican dad from the South Bronx decided it would be a good idea to start beating me with a horsewhip while my mom was at work. And this went on for about 6 months. So as a 5-year-old, I learned how to fight, and I learned how to endure a high amount of pain. I was able to take that tragedy at that age, and when I started playing football at 10, 11, 12 years old, up until I was 20 years old, I always played hurt. It didn't matter if I had a sprained ankle, a bone bruise, a broken hand. I still played. I was always on the field. So I was able to reframe that tragedy as a youth and keep me on the football field as a up to 20-year-old. When I was 20, the night before my first game at Sacramento City College, there was a double murder in my family. And I walked around downtown Sacramento all night with my football gear and showed up 4 hours earlier to the game. And our then coach Tisdale tried to send me home. And, I'm not playing, he told me. I said, you might as well cut me right now because I'm playing. And if you don't let me play, I'm going to walk to American River College and I'm going to kick this whole team's ass myself when we play in week 8. I promise you. He just told me, he goes, get in the fucking locker room and get dressed. Yeah. And I got dressed and I had my best season. Yeah. I really did. I was able to take that tragedy. And what I did, Matt, every game I'd get dressed before anybody else on my team. I'd sit in the locker room, cry my eyes out. I'd go to the shower, put my helmet on, chin strap. I'm ready to play. I'm collapsed in the shower of the locker room of the facility we were playing at, or the stadium we were playing at, and just was able to get in a frame of mind where I was able to go out on the football field and dominate. And I had my best year ever. At the end of the year, I took my first recruiting trip to UNLV, and they named me their #1 recruit. Wow. I came back 3 days later, totally unfocused. I'd been drinking. Let me back up a little bit. I started drinking at 8 years old. So, because that pain that I'd gone through as a kid.
Yeah.
And by the time I was 9, I was a full-blown alcoholic. So when I was 20, I was dominating on the football field, but I was a complete wreck. I was getting in fights out in public, picking fights with people, just a total asshole, if you will.
Yeah.
With a chip on his shoulder, but something to prove. Mm-hmm. And I came back from UNLV, and 3 days later, completely unfocused, like I said, drunk and high, stepped off the shoulder of the road in Rio Linda and got hit by what they say was a 50-mile-an-hour hit-and-run Honda Accord.
Wow. Yeah, I want to pause real quick before we get into that story, because that story I think is a big part of this. What I'm hearing from you is you're taking tragedy and you're using the football field and your play on the football field as a release. Is that fair to kind of pose it as that? Is you're taking this stuff and like you got yourself emotionally worked up and you're going to go out there and and dominate on the football field. With other tragedies, I think maybe, you find release in other ways, but is that a fair assumption there?
That's totally accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nowadays, if I was playing, I'd get kicked out of every game for some of the things I did.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're out there absolute savage because you've been through some stuff and whatnot. So, yeah, let's go back to that night in Rio Linda. You step off the curb. And so this is still your first year. You're at Sac City College.
I'm at Sac City. Yep.
Okay, playing football, number one recruit for UNLV, and drinking, partying,
smoking weed,
doing your thing. Step off a curb, take it from there.
Well, I was surrounded by friends leaving that party. There was about 200 people at this party out in the countryside, if you will. And I didn't feel it. I didn't hear the car coming. I didn't know it, but I got hit by a car and got launched 75 feet down the street, laying in the street. I was unresponsive when the CHP showed up first, and then Sac Metro Fire Department revived me, put me on the life flight helicopter. I had to be revived 3 more times on that helicopter. I took a fast trip to UC Davis Med Center trauma unit. Mm-hmm. Was left with 18 major injuries. I could share them all with you if you'd like.
Might as well.
I had a cracked cranium, a bruised brain, a cracked orbital, 6 knocked out teeth. My lacerated chin, as you can probably see. My chin was nearly ripped off. I nearly got decapitated by my necklace I had on at the time. You can see the scars on my neck. Wow. Broken pinky, broken hand, broken wrist, lacerated arm, separated shoulder, 3 broken ribs, a ruptured bladder, a broken pelvis in 2 spots, a broken leg in 2 spots, cracked kneecap, a torn PCL, torn meniscus in my left leg. I lost half of my inner left calf. They had to remove it, and a broken dislocated left ankle. Now, I was left in a 3-day coma. When I woke up out of that coma, the only thing I wanted to know, I knew where I was at. I was in a hospital. I could tell by the lights. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to know when I was playing football again. Dr. Shoemaker, bless his heart, told me you're never playing football again. I told him to fuck off. I pulled all the tubes out of my arms and threw a fit over the next 4 days. From that day 3 to day 7, UC Davis said, we've had enough of you. Get the fuck out of here. Go home. We don't want you here. So I went home and I started what I'd like to call physical torture. It wasn't rehabilitation, it was torture. I started working out at the gym on crutches with a catheter bag over my shoulder 2 times a day, doing laps around the block with a shattered body. I learned how to walk in my coach's pool at 20 years old with half a left leg, and I wasn't going to be denied. That's when I got kicked out of the hospital. That's when the comeback started. Yeah. And I just pieced it all together, and I was able to once again go back to youth when I was beaten with that horsewhip by my dad, and take the pain of Bob, my sister's fiance, getting murdered, and overcoming that pain, and able to channel it back to getting me back on the football field. I didn't miss a practice that year. I was the first one at practice 5 months later.
Wow. So incredible comeback story. And to get hit at 50 miles an hour, sustain all those injuries, 3 days in a coma, most people would just be like, thank God I'm alive, set me up with a, desk job, or I'll go back to my studies at Sac City. What was it? And maybe I'm trying to uncover something that most of us have, and maybe some of us it's undiscovered. Like, what was that burning desire that said, like, I got to get back out there. I got to prove that, like, this next tragedy, which is one of many, that a young 20-year-old Joey Ortiz has seen and felt. What was it that, like, willed you to just get back after it?
I just had to prove something to myself. Yeah. At that point, I had nothing to prove to nobody. I was a 6-time MVP on the football field, a 7-time All-Star in baseball, and an undefeated cruiserweight fighter at Sacramento City College with 11-0 record. I had nothing to prove to anybody except myself.
Yeah. Yeah. So you just wanted to get back after it, just to prove to yourself that, somebody hitting and running you at 50 miles an hour wasn't going to stop Joey Ortiz.
Yep. Now, on the flip side, though, at my best, with 8 or 9 Vicodin in me at every practice, mm-hmm. I was 70%, and it was because my ankle pain. My ankle was nearly ripped off my leg, and to run with basically a broken ankle and on a broken leg with half a left calf, the pain especially as a wide receiver, for the cutting and planning.
Yeah.
It took a toll on me.
Yeah. I didn't peg you as a wide receiver. You played wide receiver?
I was 190 pounds back then.
Okay. Yeah. A young, svelte, strong and fast Joey Ortiz playing wide receiver. And so, now you're back to playing football. Eventually that football career ends. I don't know if you want to go into that story, but I want to have you tell the story where, we share a similarity in that we've got, past addiction, and overcoming that. So maybe how did the next few years and your addiction to alcohol and cocaine lead you into, flipping a switch and saying you're done with that?
Well, when I got hit by a car, like I said, I was a full-blown alcoholic. I was drunk when I got hit. But I started in the car business about a year later and found out this miracle drug, cocaine, which would enable me to drink even more. So it worked out. And I spent 15 years of my life, chasing that dragon, totally addicted to cocaine. I did it around the clock, at work, before work, after work, all night long, minimal sleep, drinking completely out of control. And then one day, I was married at the time with my first wife, and she decided to leave me, and I've not drank or done drugs since then. It's coming up on 16 years in November.
Yeah, I want you to tell it how you told me, because I think it's powerful. Because you still remember it, and I can tell by how you tell the story that it's vivid in your mind. You're full blown into this, fog and haze, and I've been there before, so I know how it is. You don't even realize what's going on around you. And when she says, "I'm leaving," you think it's to go get you another beer because you're down to one beer.
Right. Yeah, totally. I thought at the time we lived in Elk Grove, and we were about 2 blocks from Bel Air Supermarket. So I thought she was going to get me more beer. She said she's leaving. She just got home. She was out with her girlfriends, and everything was fine. I had made myself dinner and had drank about 8 beers that night, and only 1 beer left in the refrigerator. She says, "I'm leaving." I figured she was going to get me more beer, as she always did, but she was actually leaving me. And it was a blessing, because I had some deep thought over the next 24 hours and decided that I was done destroying myself.
Yeah. And so, like you told me, you went to bed, said, F this ain't the life for me. And then went on a walk the next day. I know many people who are, struggling with different things, whether it's alcohol or whether it's drugs or, pornography. People have struggles, some with, weight and food. What do you think it was in that moment that, allowed you to just flip a switch and say, like, this ain't the life for me, and I got to change this?
Well, I thought to myself what I'd overcome from getting hit by a car and all the personal pain that I endured and the trauma, the bodily injuries and things like that. I was able to take that event, which it was 17 years prior.
Yeah.
I was able to take that event and just reframe it and say, if I can overcome all of that, then I definitely can beat alcohol and drugs.
Right. Yeah. I survived getting hit at 50 miles an hour. That didn't take me down. So I certainly don't want to take myself down, and whatnot. So, what else is in this book? I'm going to share this, for the audience too. Unstoppable, the Joey Ortiz story. How long ago did you write this?
I wrote one book before that.
Okay.
Correcting a Reckless Life. That was kind of rushed through publishing and not edited by the publisher. This book I rewrote. This is 126 pages. It's a pretty easy read, pretty quick read. I wrote that book 4 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, this is awesome. Tim Grover, who anybody who doesn't know Tim Grover, the personal trainer for Kobe and Michael Jordan, and I've seen him speak. He's phenomenal. He wrote some praise about this book.
I got a little quick Tim Grover story for you. You'll love.
Let's hear it.
So I'm working for First Tech Credit Union. I'm up in Portland for our sales summit, and there's 11 of us in this room. And the night before, I was working on this book, and from my hotel room, I'm not in the club. I'm not chasing drugs. I'm not having inappropriate relationships. I'm alone in my hotel room. And I had just read his book, Relentless, for about the 15th time.
Yeah.
I love that book. And I start firing him emails to his webpage his contact page. Well, he gets them.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't know that at the time, but I kept telling him my story. And, I've had 9 concussions. So I've had some, plus a coma. I've had some head injuries in my life. So sometimes I get off track or have to be refocused about what I'm doing. I might send you, Matt, an incomplete email sometime. It just happens. So I'm sending him emails and I kept forgetting to tell him something. So I go back and email him again. So as be told, the next day I'm at this sales summit and I'm sitting in this room with 11 other sales associates from throughout the United States, and my phone starts vibrating. It starts going off, and it's from somebody from Chicago. I don't know anybody in Chicago. And then it goes off again. I don't know anybody in Chicago. So the third time it goes off, I get up out of the room and go outside into we're the underwriting room. So you got to be quiet in there.
Yeah. And
I answer the phone and he goes, "This is Joey." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "This is Tim Grover." I go, "What the fuck?" I said it real loud. Well, one of my girlfriends at the underwriting goes, "Shh." So she goes, "Go outside." So I go outside, right? This is a credit union with a lot of security and the doors lock and everything behind you. So I go outside to talk to him and the door locks behind me. I can't get inside. Well, it starts raining. I'm in Portland. So I'm out in the rain in a polo shirt talking to him. He goes, "Just check your voicemail." So he left me that endorsement. He said, he goes, "I'll endorse whatever you do."
Yeah.
He goes, "I love your story." He goes, "Matter of fact, I shared it this morning with the group I spoke with."
Wow.
And it was just funny because and I go back into the conference room where we're working, and I've got this smile ear to ear, and everybody's like, "What?"
Yeah.
And I didn't tell him. I refused to tell him. And finally, my boss goes, "You have to tell us. I'm your boss. Tell me." And I just told him what happened, and I went through it with him. And I said, "This is good."
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to read it here while we got it here because that's a cool story. By far, you are relentless in every possible way. You've overcome things over and over again, and I definitely classify you as a cleaner. I took part of your story and used it in my last speech that I gave. I'm extremely proud of what you've accomplished, not just once, but repeatedly, and that takes a special individual to do that. That's cool, man. That's cool. I can't wait to get into this book. I got a couple copies, so I'm going to be strategic about who I hand these out to. Because something I like doing, and me and you haven't talked about this, so I don't know, but I find people that are struggling, and they're not hard to find. There's a saying, and I think it's more true than most people realize, is that like everybody's got a struggle that nobody knows anything about. And my wife has helped me in this. Maybe she's talking to a friend, and that friend says, "My husband's struggling. He doesn't seem to be able to get a control of alcohol or drugs or whatever it is." And having gone through it personally and having to change my ways with how I took care of myself and whatnot, there's a saying that you're most qualified to help those who were the old version of you, or something to that effect. I don't know. I just saw Ed Milet like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And that's his thing, and I love it. And so I don't know the answer to this, but have you had times in your life where you've come across people that you've been able to impact with your story, with telling them like, "Hey, I made it. It's possible"?
Countless times.
Yeah.
I got a good story for it. I was working out at 24 Hour Fitness, and I loved that gym in Rancho because it was open 24 hours.
Yeah.
So if I wake up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, I can go to the gym.
Was it the one on Micron?
The one on Sunrise and Coloma.
Oh, Sunrise. Yeah.
And an African-American gentleman was collecting cans from the garbage can. And he asked me for a $20 bill, or asked me if I had any water. I said, "I got a bunch of water in my truck. So come on, I'll bring you over and give you a water." He goes, "You got a $20 bill?" I said, "No." I said, "Why don't you come inside with me? I'll get you something to eat." I got the guy at the gym to give him a couple protein bars for free.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this guy work out with me. He's homeless from Chicago. I don't know what the hell he was doing on the West Coast, but I got him on the weight bench with me. I got him on the leg press with me. I got him lifting weights with me. And I wasn't giving him light weights. I was giving him heavy weights, making him work his ass off while I told him my story and told him he can overcome any of his demons. I said, "This is where I live. You can go down Ambassador, turn left. You'll find my house. there'll be a $20 bill waiting for you on my recycling can because it happened to be recycling day.
Mm-hmm.
And there's more bottled waters in there than you can imagine. You can have them all.
Mm.
He says, okay, thank you. I'll come find it.
Yeah.
Never showed up. Never showed up.
Wow.
I get a call. My phone number's on Facebook. I get a call 3 weeks later. He says, I just want to thank you. He goes, I got some money together. I took a bus back to Chicago, and I got back together with my wife, and I've been on drugs and alcohol ever since I met you.
Well, that's amazing, man.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
I started crying. I started crying.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude. But there, you know, a lot of people I went to school with, my stories impacted them.
Yeah.
And for them to thank me, that's the biggest gift for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing to me when I see somebody, because I know, you know, it affects the person, and anybody who's been through any sort of addiction can attest to the fact that it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Like me and you talked about earlier, it's deep, it's dark, you know, it's exhausting. And you know, to breathe light into somebody else, to say, hey, you can get out of this, man. Like it's possible. It doesn't just help that person. It's got this ripple effect where it might be a spouse, it might be kids. When I got clean in 2011, my son, who's now almost 16, was 2. And I think about it all the time, man. Like what would his life be like today if I didn't have the strong support of my wife to pull me out of that dark hole, right? And so if there's, you know, a single person that I could help go from that place to like, shit, man, look at us years later. You know, you've had, you know, business success. You've got 16 years of sobriety under your belt. And my kids have a completely different life because of, you know, 1, a choice that was made, 2, was, you know, strong support in my wife. But yeah, I think about that a lot, where it's like, if I could impact one person, I think Get Better Every Day podcast, quite honestly, is like, if it reached one person, you know, we could talk business strategy, we could talk, you know, mortgage and all that stuff is fine and dandy. I got awards galore. Saying you impacted one human being's life is more powerful than any of that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit too, since you've turned things around, what is Joey Ortiz up to nowadays? You had that long run in the car business. When we met, you were, you know, a top salesperson, for Tough Shed. Get us up to speed on, you know, some of the triumphs after the tragedy.
Well, we talked about earlier, my general manager at Tough Shed called me into his office in January of 2023 and told me I was making too much money, which I was kind of taken aback.
Yeah.
And so between then and June, they took away half my stores. And so I put in 2-week notice, no hard feelings, and finished number 1 at a month end, and then left. And I've taken the better part of a year off, spending time with my wife. My wife's overcome cancer 3 times. So just follow with her through her journey with that. Now our dog's got cancer, so we're afflicted upon that. But I'm going back to work, starting a new career path here on the 14th with a debt resolution.
Nice.
Out of Roseville, so I'm excited.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is I can see it and I can hear it in your voice. A man who's overcome as much as you've overcome, picking up the phone, you know, helping people with debt resolution and waking up early. You might be on the phone for 10 hours. Stuff that other people consider a challenge is, you know, light work to somebody like Joey Ortiz. And so I wonder, do you think that everybody has that grit and determination inside of them? Do you think that you were born different? What is it that, you know, people can maybe look to unlock that portion of them?
I think everybody has it. I truly do. I think finding it is the key.
Yeah.
But it's there, and you just have to find it. You know, we as humans, you know, a big percentage of us don't like pressure. We don't like pressure situations. Maybe that person just likes the 9 to 5 where they're going to make minimum wage and not have overbearing manager or not have pressure situations on day in and day out. But as humans, we thrive and we prosper under pressure. Our brains do, our bodies do, whether we're lifting weights or whether we're doing some cross training or something. Our bodies and minds, once under pressure, that's when we grow.
Yeah.
And that's where we're going to maximize our full potential.
Yeah. I know when you said that yesterday, I was on a call, high level coach in the mortgage industry, Amir Syed, said a line that stuck with me. And he said, losers love praise, winners love pressure. And just exactly like you said, like pressure is what makes you thrive. If something's hard, if you're learning a new skill, like that's hard, that's growth. And so I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. So I know, just with your attitude and your mentality that you're going to thrive. What else is left for you in regards to, this story and sharing the story? Cause you wrote the books. And so I know that, when somebody does that, you're looking to impact other people's lives. What else do you have going on in regards to that besides the day job and stuff that you got?
Well, I just gave away 40 books, shipped them all over the country, signed them, shipped them, just working on getting my book in more people's hands. And it's on Amazon, of course.
Yeah.
But just spreading the message and seeing if I can help more people.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Whether my new job, I'm excited about because I'm going to be helping people.
Right.
As I did in the car business, I was helping people. Or when I met you through Tough Shit, I was helping people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the approach I've always taken. But just my book can save a life. And that's the biggest win for me. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's something to the story that allows people that vulnerability of telling a story. And I thank you for telling the vulnerable story about, your abuse from your father, the double murder in your family, getting hit by a car. I think that being told allows people to open up, and say, you know what, I'm struggling. I got this going on. And they hear it and they hear vulnerability from others. It allows them to, I think, confront the stuff that they're going through, and one, say it's possible to overcome it, and two, say I shouldn't be ashamed to, admit that I'm not perfect. Because most of us walking around, we got all kinds of problems, and I'll be the first to admit that I'm not perfect. But again, it's showcasing that to tell somebody, somebody comes to me for a mortgage and they're upset because, they've gone through bankruptcy or they've got late payments and their credit is suffering, whatever. I'm like, hey, listen, I'm human just like you. I've had all kinds of bumps and bruises and mistakes along the way. But, if Matt Gouget can make it, if Joey Ortiz can make it, then it's possible. Man, I love the story. I really appreciate you coming on to share it. Any parting words for the Get Better Every Day listener?
Well, if you're battling something in life, whether it be alcohol, drugs, gambling, pornography, something, you can start to go down a different path, but you got to stop the behavior of what you're doing at the time.
Yeah.
If I could just tell you something real quick, I carry my scars with honor.
Yeah.
I could have had my face fixed back, 30 years ago, but I decided I was going to walk around and look in the mirror every day to remind myself where I've been.
Yeah.
This scar has actually impacted more people's lives than you can imagine, because it strikes up conversation, whether I'm at a restaurant or some other people. I've had more people than I could count, Matt, ask me, you don't mind if I ask you a question? What happened?
Yeah.
And I tell them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome, man.
So,
I love that because, impacting people, there's nothing stronger than that. And so you'll continue to do that, I'm sure.
Yep.
Yep. Awesome, man.